This morning on the news show, Joshua Zirkzee says he's staying at Manchester United. The race for Marcus Rashford's signature heats up in Italy. And Casemiro exiting Manchester United grows more likely. Let's jump straight into the news. So as always guys, thanks for tuning in. Please do hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers, trying to get there before the end of January. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Do hit that like button as well for me guys. But we're going to jump straight into it, and we're going to talk first and foremost about Joshua Zirkzee. David Ornstein has reported this morning that Joshua Zirkzee does intend to stay at Manchester United during this transfer window. And this is big news because there's been a lot of talk over the last few days, specifically since the Newcastle game, that Joshua Zirkzee's time at Manchester United might come to an abrupt end. And there's been interest from the likes of Juventus in Italy, and to go back maybe as well to his former club Bologna, who have also been linked with him. And Manchester United have said, according to reports in the last couple of days, that they're only willing to let Joshua Zirkzee leave if they get a transfer fee higher than what they paid for him in the summer. Now, again, I don't really know if I believe too much of them reports. I don't see how you could ask for more. Well, you can ask for as much as you want, and that would, determine whether you're actually serious about selling the player or not. But United would never get more money for Zirkzee than they paid in the summer, given the performances that he's put in this season. But look, I mean, talking about Zirkzee on the whole, I'm really happy that he's staying, to be quite honest with you. He's had a difficult time. He's 22, 23 years of age. So, he's nowhere near his prime yet. And he's come into a Manchester United team and club, really, that's in a bit of disarray, to be quite honest with you. I don't see how any young player coming in from Serie A to one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the most difficult leagues in the world, can just go and hit the ground running. Now, his performances haven't been good, and we've been quite critical of his performances, and that criticism tends to be one-off in terms of performances on the day. And while I said I do think his career at Manchester United isn't going to be maybe a long one, I'm quite happy that he's staying. We've seen, obviously, what happened to him in the Newcastle game, and it was really, really hard to watch, to be quite honest with you. I felt really bad for him, and, this happens sometimes. However, I'm delighted that he is going to be staying at United for the remainder of the season. We've seen the great reception that he got coming on the pitch against Liverpool at Anfield from the travelling away support by the Manchester United fans, and it was great to see they sung his name, and that's the way it should be, and I think, maybe a lot of it was blown out of proportion against Newcastle as well. There was certain areas of Old Trafford who cheered when his number went up to be substituted, and there was massive boos straight away after that. Now, a lot of people put the boos down to, booing Zirkzee, but I don't think it was. I think the majority of Old Trafford were booing the small minority of fans that cheered him being substituted off. And look, Manchester United don't really turn, the match-going fan base specifically, don't really turn on players that easily, to be quite honest with you. So for that reason, I'm really, really happy that Zirkzee is saying, I think he deserves to, get some more time, and maybe get some more game time under his belt over the remainder of the season. He will be used, like you've seen, at Anfield. He came on for Rasmus Højlund. I think a lot will depend on United actually going out and getting a striker in January. Will we go out and sign somebody? We know the reports are linking us with the likes of Kolo Muani in the last couple of days, getting him on loan till the end of the season. If that is the case, does that mean that Joshua Zirkzee will move on? And is he going to play third string to Rasmus Højlund and whatever striker that comes in January? That remains to be seen. But, I mean, David Ornstein very, very, very rarely gets it wrong. And if he's saying that Joshua Zirkzee intends to stay, then he intends to stay. That's absolutely the case. Now, Joshua Zirkzee intending to stay at Manchester United doesn't mean he will stay at Manchester United. That might be the case where, United are going, well, look, we're going to put you out on loan here. Your intention is to stay, but we don't want you to stay. And if he goes on loan, United, he continues to get the same kind of salary that he's on. I think Joshua Zirkzee intending to stay at Manchester United basically puts an end to us selling him permanently. Because if we sell him permanently, he'll probably get less salary at another club than he's getting at United. And then he doesn't have to accept a transfer. I think it's quite likely that a player can, go out on loan because they're getting the same salary that they're currently getting. A lot of it has to do with money. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zirkzee over the next few weeks. But I mean, these reports suggesting he's staying. I've put an awful lot of. I've put a stop to an awful lot of reports coming out, I think, over the next few weeks. Let me know your thoughts on Zirkzee staying, guys. Are you happy with it, or do you think we should push to move him on? Now, next up, Marcus Rashford, and we have, of course, been deep in conversation about Rashford over the last couple of weeks, ever since he done that interview saying that he's ready for a new challenge. And of course, he's been out of, I think, 5 of the last 6 matchday squads, which is, damning from a Rashford standpoint. But Laurie Whitwell has been speaking this morning, guys, and he has said that sources believe Italy is the likeliest destination for Marcus Rashford this month. And again, look, we spoke about this a couple of weeks back, and I said that I didn't think he was going to go to Spain because Barcelona can't afford him. Real Madrid don't need him. I don't think he would, Bayern Munich aren't going to give him the kind of money that he's getting at United. PSG don't want him anymore. He doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. So the only real destination was Italy. And it seems to be correct as of now. And other reports today have suggested that AC Milan will have no problem paying Marcus Rashford's salary. They could present their project to the player in the next few days. Now, look, AC Milan have been linked quite heavily with him over the last couple of days. And I think it would be, absolutely a good destination for him. There's the likes of Tammy Abraham is there as well, who's, got that English connection, so it would make it a little bit easier for Rashford. They got some good players. Rafael Leao is the big stumbling block for me. He plays on that left-hand side for AC Milan. So what does that mean for Rashford? Is he going to go in and take his place? Probably not. Is he going to go in and play as a number 9? Well, we know the struggles that he has in that position for Manchester United over the last few years. So I mean, while AC Milan would be an attractive prospect for any player, I think if Marcus Rashford is looking at the project, he's going to say, well, where do I fit in there? And that's these are things that will come into play. Will AC Milan be able to buy Marcus Rashford outright in January? I don't think so. I think it's more and more likely that we're going to see Marcus Rashford go on loan. And, probably similar to what we've seen with Jadon Sancho going to Chelsea, there'll be an obligation to buy inserted in it where, if he performs a certain way, or he hits a certain amount of targets, or he finishes a certain position in the league, then the obligation to buy kicks in. And I think that's fair, and it's a good deal for United. The one issue is that I would have, and I mentioned it all at the time with loan deals, and especially with players leaving United on loan, is that the salary is covered. Now, I understand that the club that are loaning the player in don't want to cover the salary fully, and United more than likely will have to pay a large portion of the salary, given the fact that he's on a high amount. But I want to see United offloading that salary as much as possible onto the club that's loaning him. I mean, again, I go back and say it, I mean, United having to pay massive salaries for a player who's not even playing for the club just doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. And my usual argument would be I'd rather him stay and play for the club, but he's not playing for the club. Ruben Amorim is leaving him out. So there's got to be that balance met over the next few weeks. But look, I mean, these reports are gaining a lot of traction over the last few days and the last couple of weeks, and I think it's more and more likely that Rashford will leave in this January window. I do think it's more than likely going to be a loan with maybe an obligation to buy. The last thing I want to see is a loan with an option to buy, where we just see Rashford coming back in 6 months' time and he's in America playing on the preseason tour and so on and so forth, and the circus continues again. If he is to leave, let's try and get him moved on a permanent deal as quickly as possible, or at least a loan with an obligation to buy. I think it's best for everybody, to be honest. And again, I go back to the disappointment that I feel. I wanted Rashford to be the main man at United, and I always backed him and I always wanted him to do well. But look, relationships are severed now by the looks of things, and look, the quicker we can get a resolution to this, the better. And finally, Casemiro, guys. Look, obviously we spoke about him in depth last night on the live, and some updated reports today coming out from the Times in relation to Casemiro and the links with Saudi Arabia. The Times Sport has said the Saudi Pro League has been alerted to the availability of Casemiro, who has let it be known that he would be open to leaving Manchester United. And we know the reports were there during the summer about a potential move to the Saudi Pro League, but Casemiro at the time didn't want to leave Manchester United. That looks to have changed, and I think the main reason for that is that he's been, I suppose his game time has been limited since Ruben Amorim came in, and look, rightly so. Mamadou Ugarte has been absolutely fantastic for us this season, and you know, the criticisms around Erik ten Hag for not playing him more are even more evident now that, you know, he's playing well, and by the looks of it, he should have been in a lot sooner under the previous manager. But, I mean, Casemiro to Saudi, guys, we mentioned it again last night. Potential €30 million deal. 30 million euro would be a fantastic price that United, you know, if United get that for him, it would be absolutely brilliant. And it would be a big chunk of money that you could reinvest into the January transfer window. And again, we go back to what we've said about Casemiro is the highest earner at Manchester United. He's on a reported £350,000 a week. And that's a huge amount of money off the books if he moves to Saudi Arabia. I did see some reports suggesting he could earn up to £650,000 a week in Saudi Arabia. And you got to take into consideration as well, all of that is tax-free. So, I mean, that is going to attract, you know, the majority of players, you know, and especially somebody of Casemiro's age and profile. You know, there's been reports suggesting that he's going to move to the same team as Cristiano Ronaldo, his former teammate. Ronaldo wants him to be signed. And we know the kind of pull that Ronaldo has within that league as well. He's the ambassador pretty much of the Saudi Pro League. And I think from a United standpoint, more than anything else, I think getting €30 million in the door in January for Casemiro would be huge. It really, really would. But the argument remains, guys, I do think United would have to replace him. And I've mentioned this every time we've spoke about Casemiro in the last few days. If Casemiro leaves, we need to replace him with a number 6. We really do, because the only other one is Ugarte. Now, you've got the likes of Toby Collier that plays centre midfield. You know, we've got other players that can play in the 6, but are not out-and-out defensive midfielders. You know, Manu plays in the 6, but is more of an attacking or a deep-lying playmaker. Bruno Fernandes can play there, but similar to Manu. And again, I mentioned it last night. It would, of course, it would happen that if we sold Casemiro in January and didn't replace him, the day after the transfer window ends, United would end up getting an injury to Ugarte, and we're out, you know, without a number 6. So I think it is quite important that if we do let Casemiro leave, that he is replaced, that we do get a replacement for him. And we need somebody challenging the likes of Ugarte to keep everybody on their toes. You want to have at least 2 players for each position on the pitch, and especially with how Amorim sets up the midfield, 2 number 6s, 2 number 10s. You like to be able to rotate players around, but you need to have somebody that can, at the very minimum, back up Mamadou Ugarte there in that number 6 role. But let me know what you think, guys, about all of the news points that we're talking about this morning. We will be back tonight as well with a live transfer talk show as well, so make sure you're tuning in for that. Please do hit that subscribe button, as I said, on the road to 13,000 subscribers. Turn on notifications as well. You'll get notified anytime we go live or some new content goes up. Plenty of content coming up over the next few days as well. And of course, we've got the watch along against Arsenal on the weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.